fucking out of your mind? 25, 100 a day. You want money. You're asking for money. You can't ask 25 fucking people.
If you're not getting educated about local and national real estate market conditions, tactical strategies that work, economic data, you're doing yourself and your client base a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers Podcast. I'm Tom Toole here with Lisa Chinatti and Byron Lazine, and you're going to want to make sure you stay tuned until the end for some real outbound activity advice from Gary Vee. We're going to show you our outbound activity blueprint to convert sales, and Gary Vee's backing it up in a way you're going to be surprised about. But first, we're going to talk about eXp's new disclosure form and the fact that NAR voted it down at their most recent secret meeting that they held in Houston. And we've got a ton of economic data here. We've got the ADP coming out in unemployment. We've got PCE and inflation reports. Let's lead off with the eXp disclosure. We missed this last week being off for the holiday, and eXp came out, and I've got to give a lot of credit here. Byron, I know you've done the same. Leo Pereira has really taken a leadership role in simplifying forms for the industry. I think this is a really smart move. There was a live webinar, and they came out. This was on what was the date here? December 2nd was when this when the article dropped, but it was the week before of Thanksgiving, where they came out and they put together a referral disclosure form in the eXp contracts that they recommend, as well as a choice form of vendor referrals. They have these disclosures that are now embedded in their eXp documents. The form is open sourced, and there's some very clear things that the form looks to accomplish. That one, clients know that if there's a referral fee being paid, how that compensation is structured, number two, and that the payment comes out of the commission, number three. And then form two lets people know that they have choices when it comes to lenders, home inspectors, closing services, title companies, home warranties, other specialized services. I think this is really smart. We've talked about how agents often refer out people in the way like, oh, this is my lender, this is the best person, which is not good. But NAR voted this down at their meeting. So what do you guys think about all this? I'm glad someone's taking leadership, because we know NAR is not.
NAR will play catch up on this. Supposedly in that meeting, they didn't like the way it was written or the language. They certainly do have a tendency or a track record of delaying and waiting for somebody else to lead in the industry. Zillow, who's been on the hot seat, obviously we've talked about it here on the pod, how much they've been on the hot seat. They've at times taken that leadership seat and made adjustments and changes first, whether you agree or disagree. Certainly Robert Revkin has done that with Compass, and how he has gone after Zillow and some of the stakes that they've put into the ground on what they believe in for consumers. They've been, again, whether you agree or disagree with what Compass is doing, they've been a form of a leader that NAR has kind of left to industry players to see where these new leaders emerge. And certainly in this case, Leo Pereira and eXp, particularly from the leadership leading, from somebody who's done it at the level that we do it at right now. That's what I think is really interesting about leaders like Sharon when he was operating day to day at Real, leaders like Leo at eXp. These are guys who have been, these are leaders who have been in our position, meaning they've been at the agent level. They've been at the operational level of offices. Leo had one of the biggest Keller Williams teams when he was operating. And so he thinks about the problems that his agents are faced with, and his big teams. Certainly he has some of the biggest teams in the country at eXp. And he's really thoughtful about, okay, not just the problem that they're faced with from a exposure standpoint legally, but what are the problems that they're faced with when it comes to how they can best serve the customer. And what I really like about what he's done, and this isn't the first time he's done it. He did it when, buyer broker, um, was with the lawsuit with all the big changes there. And so he has a track record of now doing this where he open sources it to the entire industry. So what he cares about for his agents and his teams in his organization, he equally cares about the entire industry having access to that. I mean, there's a lot of obviously goodwill that's built up there. There's also a track record now that he's built. If he gets roped into one of these, lawsuits where he can say, wait a minute, here's what I've done. I've open sourced this information time and time again. And the industry has access and availability to everything. We're not hiding any of it, and we're sharing it. And these are common sense forms. This was a common sense vote that NAR could have made.
Yep.
Having a form and a disclosure, and I get it. Like, I mean, when is it going to stop? Like all the disclosures that a customer is going to have to sign, but with all of the litigation over the last, few years and the litigation that's going to continue in this industry moving into 26, these are common sense forms. A consumer having a form that outlines, hey, here are the service providers maybe that I would recommend from a broker standpoint. Here are the relationships, what those look like, that I have, and then how you have choice in that process within recommendations and outside of those recommendations. And then the second form, which is disclosing broker to broker referral fees. So, or really any referral fees, but, going as far as like, hey, a broker to broker referral is disclosed, which, is not happening at scale in this industry. And so I think these are really smart, really obvious. And I said it on the Real Word Pod. Well done, Leo.
I agree with all of that. And I think it's something that we all should be rolling out. I know we've done it. Have you guys rolled out anything similar on your own yet in your
process?
companies?
Yeah, I'm working on just copy pasting Leo's. That's why I like that he open sources it, because obviously it's got to fit into your local market, into what you do, and all of that kind of stuff, and it needs to be reviewed. You can't just slap a new logo on their forms, or I guess you could, but it probably wouldn't be advised. Check with your attorney. This isn't legal advice. So you want to go through that process. Lisa obviously is a broker owner. And so how did you already did this before eXp released the forms or after?
We interestingly, we were probably pretty much at the same time. So we rolled out, we've been kind of watching everything that was shaking out. So we rolled out a form, our first disclosure, rolled it out, and had an addition of keeping us RESPA compliant, and making sure that we're taking some of the, not onus or responsibility, but taking some of that lift off of agents and ensuring that we're not going to end up in a he said, she said on that. So we rolled out a disclosure that refers to every consumer, 3 lenders, 3 closing companies, 3 home inspectors, and reiterates that they don't have to use any of those, that they've always got the choice, and that we just provide referrals to folks that we've had positive experiences with in the past. So that was rolled out kind of in response-ish to what was shaking out with Zillow. And then we had also kind of been watching what was shaking out with the NAR vote, and had rolled out a disclosure that said, look, there's the possibility that we're paying referral fees on a transaction. If you want specific information, reach out and we're happy to provide any of that information, numbers, financials, whatever that looks like. And it's the reason that we went that route is because it's tricky, even with the Zillow side of it. You guys know it's tiered, right? So it's not like the consumer could start looking in one price range that has a referral fee of, say, 30%, but then they bump up into a price range that has a referral fee of 40%. And we don't often know. It can move for us. It can move by zip code with where that's going to fall for the same price point.
I'm I'm curious on your guys' thoughts on what brokerages and down to the agent level, what comfort level they're going to have on broker to broker. It really comes down to broker referrals, because even though the agent's making the referral to another agent,
Yep.
it's really the duty of the broker to make that disclosure known. They're the ones that are certainly making the transaction. Agents can't transact. They can do it on behalf of a broker. And if you look at other industries, and I just, this is just chat. So, what other industries, obviously mortgage, everything's disclosed, fully RESPA compliant. Financial advisors, wealth management, it's mandatory if money changes hands. So that's an SEC requirement that if there's a referral fee from a financial planner, wealth management, what referrals matter? CPAs, estate attorneys, insurance brokers, private banks. If there is a referral fee, money changing hands, SEC requires disclosures. Now, a lot of times, those recommendations that a financial planner is making comes without a referral fee. They're just saying, hey, here's a CPA, because they don't want to get into the disclosure.
Yeah.
And so they really just want to better serve the customer of like, here's somebody I would recommend talking to,
Yep.
Insurance broker, whatever. And so then, but okay, so the SEC requires financial planners, wealth management to do a disclosure if money changes hands. So that's pretty much a highly regulated situation. Law firms and attorneys, okay? These are ABA rules. So very high level of transparency, very high level of regulation, according to chat, that attorneys, if money changes hands, if there's a referral fee and they cross refer, okay, a criminal attorney to a family attorney to an estate attorney to a probate attorney, that has to be disclosed. Now, a lot of times attorneys are in practice making those recommendations without money changing hands, which means there's not a disclosure because there's not money changing hands. Medical healthcare practitioners, this is very strict. This is stark law. There's an anti-kickback statute, primary care specialist, diagnostics, surgery. Financial compensation for referrals is just simply illegal in medical. You can't even do it with a disclosure. So very highly regulated. Enterprise software, now you get into more of the gray, murkier areas that you could argue exist in real estate, not required unless the partner is positioning themselves as an unbiased advisor. So like you're thinking, we'd be thinking Salesforce, HubSpot, kind of these tech companies, right? And so that is kind of low to medium on transparency level. Mortgage, title, insurance, very high, obviously RESPA, so on. Construction, Wild West, low transparency in the trades. General contractors refer electricians, they refer plumbers, they refer roofers, architects. You don't know. Usually not disclosed, not required to be disclosed. But now referrals in that common practice, as we all know, dealing with a lot of tradespeople, it's not common for there to be a referral fee. It's more of an ecosystem of referring business within a community. Hey, here's the electrician that I use. And then the electrician refers back to the plumber or the roofer. So it's kind of more like that. Accountants, tax firms required if referral fees. So anyways, just kind of breaking it down. And because we're in a financial sector, I see it going to be, this is just what Leo did and eXp did. It's just an obvious path forward. There's going to be a higher level of regulation, and these fees are going to be disclosed. You're going to be mandated to have these disclosed. And so eXp is saying, let's just do it now.
What's funny about this, Byron, is a lot of real estate firms, they have title and mortgage, and there's always some sort of disclosure there. We've probably all seen that. We have a title company in our office, and we have a service provider's disclosure already at the bottom of the affiliated business disclosure. So a lot of companies have been doing this. It says The attached list contains names of service persons that have been used by some of our customers and clients. We suggest that if you contact or employ any of them, you question their references, E&O insurance policies, procedures, length of time required. I mean, it's the same disclosure that's there. So this is good business. The
So
referral fee disclosure, I think, is interesting because I talked to our local board about this. I emailed and reached out to the current and past and future president of the board. Only one of them gave me a response, which is fantastic. And I had a feeling I knew which one it would be because he's the best business person of the three, and they're all men, so we're not disclosing anything here. You can look this up. And I asked him, I said, hey, is PAR? Well, I don't want to give away the identity. That's my point. I asked them, will PAR, Pennsylvania Association of Realtors, will they be doing anything with this? And he said, I can't believe NAR voted this down. This is from someone sitting at the local board. And I've talked to this person about what happened after the settlement. This person reaches out a lot. So when you have the local members questioning what happened with NAR, it's just silly to me that he said, I think it should be in there. Let's just do it and put it in the PAR forms and get it over with. Because for all the things you mentioned, Byron, besides tradespeople, these things are disclosed. So it's kind of an obvious thing here that has to happen. And, on the back end of these referrals, there's people putting pressure on the clients. I mean, right or wrong, to use the recommended agent. I mean, it happens. They coach them through who to select. I see it happen all the time.
The NAR voting it down, there are some local boards that have already done what basically EXP just did. So, from a brokerage standpoint, from a national leadership perspective, EXP is kind of a first mover on this, but recognizing some of the local California Association of Realtors, they announced they're revising it. You have others as well. I think when I was kind of talking about this on the Real World a little bit, somebody in the comments said Iowa. I think it was Iowa. Bobby, if you want to just look that up in the comment section there. Yeah, Iowa referral disclosure law. So they already have that. So there's a handful at least of, local boards or local associations or maybe even local brokerages, certainly, that have gone this direction. And I think this is going to be the framework, obviously, and the regulation that the industry is operating in. Where do you think agents land on this? And how is this going to change agents' approach to handing a referral off? It's interesting because, there is a really good business model. If you're a New York City agent, that feeder markets are Fairfield County in Connecticut, Westchester County, New Jersey, Connecticut shoreline. Like, you have obvious, consistent feeder markets, and you want relationships with those agents so that they have someone to recommend to their clients who are kind of moving in and out of the city. Okay. You probably, Lisa, have that in, your market in Boston as well, with some of the suburbs, maybe not to the same degree as New York City, but certainly to a degree. You have that in, Miami with New York. You have a natural migration pattern that's happening there. You have it in Austin with kind of the inbound migration from California and other West Coast. So it makes sense from a business model in certain metro areas to have a strong network of referral agents. Then what you have is I'm just picking two states. You have a Minnesota agent saying, oh, I randomly have a client being relocated to Louisiana, which doesn't happen every day. That's not like a natural migration pattern. Okay. And you have a Minnesota agent that says online in a Facebook group or somewhere, hey, are there any good Louisiana agents in Baton Rouge? Lane Kiffin's moving from, he wouldn't be moving from Minnesota, but he's moving from
Mississippi
Oxford,
to
Mississippi.
Louisiana. Yes. There we go.
Anybody, I don't think he's looking for an agent. Anybody know an agent? And then you have a whole bunch of agents going crazy to get in line, and then an agent in Minnesota kind of doing DMs and phone conversations to pick an agent It's like a popularity contest in a Facebook group in order to hand the client off and get a referral fee out of it. Is that practice going to change where it just doesn't make sense to do it? Because ultimately, that agent referring into Baton Rouge who's asking on Facebook who might be a good agent has no idea who a good agent is in Baton Rouge, or they wouldn't be asking the question.
Well, I'm going to stop you. I think the thing to keep in mind, I think what I see changing is that there's more inter-firm referrals, which I think is actually probably worse for the consumer, right? Because I think what we're talking about is that the broker or the brokerage needs to disclose, not the individual agent, right? It's not saying Tom Toole gave Byron Lazine a referral. It's saying Remax gave William Ravis a referral. So there's some interesting arguments that could be made here, right? So if
I already disagree with you, but continue.
Okay. Well, but so if you're referring to another William Ravis agent, does this referral fee need to be disclosed? Not should it, but does it?
Ooh, I get that question. Depends on the brokerage, right?
I think what we're
Correct.
talking about here is yes. I think the answer is yes. It should.
But I don't think that correct. I agree with you that it should, but does it? And I think the answer that we're going to come up
on the whole is right now, no, but I think it's going to change.
Right. But I don't think it's going to be written such that if the agent is paying to another agent a referral fee, I think it's going to be is the broker paying a referral fee, because in Massachusetts and in New Hampshire, and I don't know where it is for you guys, but here the broker or the brokerage own the contracts. The agents don't actually own or operate with the contract.
I think that's every state. I mean, I'm not verifying it, but that's how it works.
But so think about it then, and this goes to some of the stuff with what we've been talking about with consolidation of stuff, right? So does it become that if an agent at EXP refers the deal to another agent at EXP, is that disclosure still required? And now what I want you guys to think about is, we've been saying it for a while, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Does Zillow start to avoid it by bringing in and actually having agents? Then there's no disclosure required if the agent is actually affiliated with a Zillow brokerage.
I mean, that's all. Well, I want to. What I disagree with is not going down the Zillow rabbit hole that you want to drag the conversation into.
I didn't want to drag it there. I just opened it up and said, hey, look at it from this perspective, right? Like agent to agent stuff, I also think could go there.
I know, but you're talking about, that's a totally different. Is Zillow going to bring agents in-house to kind of make their legal issues go away?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
But that's part of that conversation. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a different conversation.
But let's table that for a second.
What we're talking about is referral fees in general. You've got a whole bunch of different levels of referral fees. You've got the agent to agent.
What about like a Dave Ramsey referral fee? What about
those should be disclosed.
Cardis, all of them across the board.
A Dave Ramsey referral fee is way more obvious to a customer.
Yeah, agreed. Yes.
And he may be disclosing, by the way. Dave Ramsey's, whether you hate him or love him, he's pretty smart. He may be I don't know if he is. I know you've done Dave Ramsey in the years ago, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know if it was or not, but what I did know is they knew we were connected with Dave Ramsey. There was not a question of that.
We could bring up a clip or find a clip, but Dave Ramsey says on his radio show, we have a network of agents that we will refer you to. So
our endorsed local providers are the top 10% of real estate agents in your area. If you want a high-octane, high-protein real estate agent with the heart of a teacher that's going to walk you through in the middle of a hot market, help you navigate all the complexities of this, go to DaveRamsey.com and click Endorsed Local Provider and get one of the top real estate agents in the world in your area.
You know, everybody knows Dave Ramsey makes money off of everything. So I'm not saying a consumer should automatically know that, but it is a little bit more obvious. But there's a lot of different layers to this conversation, Lisa, to your point. The one part I disagreed with you on, and so I just want to go back to that real quick, is you believe that this will head in the future as this becomes the norm, this disclosure, that this will lead to more inter-firm referrals. And then the question that you were kind of asking there, that's what you said.
Well, I didn't say that I believe that it will. I said I could see that could be potentially one outcome from this, right? Like
Okay.
I
Yeah, I'm
think
not
it's
going to
something
hold you
that
to the prediction, like our prediction show in a couple of weeks. I'll hold you to your
Well, if
last
she
year's
says it then
predictions.
we
But
have to hold her to it, right?
yeah, no
That's
doubt. I
but you're
mean,
saying
well,
that could be the
I,
case where you have an increase of inter-firm referrals, and as companies are getting bigger, not smaller, the bigger getting bigger and the smaller getting extinct, then
correct.
that could definitely be the case. So, listen, but you said I think that could be worse for consumers. You did
I
say
do.
that.
I
Okay,
do. And I
and
think
that's
that that is true.
the point I disagree with. Okay, because just on the example of a agent from a non referring somebody to a state on a Facebook group that they know nothing about and know no agents versus, back in the early 2010s when I've only been 2 brokerages and I spent 5 years at Sotheby's, and I've often said the best inter firm referral network is Sotheby's, because Sotheby's agents are very passionate about finding another Sotheby's agent, and they really
But just
they
because you're
really do a good job.
affiliated with a
Now,
brand doesn't mean you're a good agent.
no,
And
no,
that's my point.
I agree 100% with that. What I on inner firm referrals, at least, and what happens often at a Sotheby's, for example, okay, and Sotheby's agents can chime in and tell me where I'm missing it, but I spent 5 years there. I've only been to 2 brokerages, and I know that network very well. What happens there is an agent, instead of going on a Facebook group, they actually call the manager of the location and say, "Hey, I have a client who really had a great experience with me. And, we serve them. This is how we serve them on the buy, sell, investing side here. And they worked with our independently owned and operated Sotheby's franchise here. And they're moving to your neck of the woods. And they're asking me if I know of a great agent. And guess what? I don't. So I'm calling you, the managing broker. Here's the profile. Here's the expectations of the client. Here's how we serve them. Here's how they expect to be served. Here's what they're looking for in the next agent. Who in your office might be a good introduction for me to make?" And at least the managing broker, who knows the 40, 50, 60 agents in their office, can then make a recommendation based on the customer needs. And to me, that feels a lot more customer centric, because the customer is saying, "Hey, I had a great experience with you. I want to know who you'd recommend me to," as opposed to the agent jumping on a Facebook group and running a popularity contest.
Well, I just ran into this. I mean, we joked about it. Well, I didn't joke about it. I was actually pretty annoyed. Where there was another agent from another company. "Oh, this person's the best. This person's the best." They respond right away. I'm in an appointment, right? Like, what am I supposed to do? Look at my Facebook page during the listing appointment? Ridiculous. And then the referring agent called me 2 weeks later, who had the referral. "Hey, my clients are really disappointed with the service they're getting from this agent." And I said, "Well, I didn't say." I was thinking, because you picked the first person that responded. That's clearly what happened. And it wasn't like it was 45 minutes later I got back to these folks. And now we've secured them as a client and have a buyer agency agreement signed. And this is a 7-figure buyer relocating to our marketplace. So, Byron, your point is absolutely right.
No,
And
it's not.
well, I think what happens with these
No,
popularity
it's not.
contests, yes, it is, because they're
Well,
going
what
on
the
and they're looking for people. Hey, you can get 10 of your friends to jump into these referral groups on all these different realtor Facebook pages to pump you up. But then you look at where they actually serve. They're an hour away from where the person wants to buy. They've got 4 sales in the past 24 months. That's part of the problem here with these agent-to-agent referrals when they go on these Facebook
No
groups.
doubt, but that's do you both not think that so I was at KW for a while, right? I'm still in it. There were KW Facebook groups for referrals that you had to be a KW
Well,
agent to
that's
get
poor
in.
management that you're still in
That
there. I mean, who's auditing that?
that's
I
my
mean, come on.
point. But that's my point. But Like, do you guys not think that? I mean, let's be real. The big ones, as much as we like are talking, like EXP is phenomenal. What Leo was doing is phenomenal for the industry. But is EXP handling those agent to agent referrals the same way that Sotheby's is? Absolutely not. They're going into other Facebook groups and just having the same thing shake out, but limiting the pool of agents that are being referred from within that Facebook group. It's literally, right? And I was also at Coldwell Banker for a period of time. I've moved more than both of you. And when I was at Coldwell Banker,
I never moved.
Well, Tom's never moved. I mean,
exactly.
Mr. Consistency.
At Coldwell Banker, somebody might call the office manager. The office manager wasn't giving it to the best agent. The office manager was giving it to whoever needed a pump up at the time, or
keeping it.
Yeah, you're right about that too.
So like, while Sotheby's might have a great process, I stand by my point that if it moves to just to a way to avoid it is interfirm stuff, I don't think the consumer wins.
I don't think the agent's going to care about that though, because like I look at who do I, if I had a referral in Connecticut, it's not going to a Remax office in Connecticut. I'm calling Byron first because I've got a relationship with him.
You're not the typical agent.
So
that is true.
Here's what's going to happen anyways.
And we need to move on. So wrap it up.
Yeah, we need to move on. Here's what's going to happen anyway. In 10 years, agent to agent referrals are going to be significantly less than what happens today.
I agree with that.
Because why would I take one recommendation when I'm moving from Minnesota to Baton Rouge when I can just go on to chat and find out the real story?
I agree with you 100%.
So it's like less people on Black Friday they use Cyber Monday as opposed to going to the stores. It'll still happen, but you're going to see a significant swing to research being done through AI and consumers making a decision based on that.
Agree.
All right. Speaking of, let's talk about some economic data. I don't know. We were speaking of that, but that's what I'm going with. So we had some positive stuff, I thought, Byron. We saw PCE inflation, the core inflation number watched from the Fed hit 2.8%, lower than expected. This is delayed data from September, by the way, thanks to the government shutdown. There was a 0.2% monthly rise. The annual rate's at 2.8%, and it was in line with the monthly rate was in line with Dow Jones consensus, but the annual level was 0.1% lower. Then we saw the ADP data get released. So that's the National Employment Report. This dropped on the 3rd. The private sector employment shed 32,000 jobs in November, and pay was up 4.4% year over year. So we saw jobs drop down a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of economic data coming out right now, and we've got a Fed meeting happening at the end of the month. You said poly market, Byron's at 90% chances that they're going to be
90 plus.
90 plus. CME Group's at 87.2 today. But it kind of feels like the last 2 months didn't happen when you look at what's going on with the 10-year right now, because mortgage rates have kind of held where they have held. So what do we think is going to happen at the Fed meeting? I mean, I think we can all agree on that. Are we going to get the same kind of data in October and November that we saw from the delayed September release? What do you guys think?
I think the fear is that October, November are going to be higher on inflation. You still have a lot of that fear that some of the tariffs now are going to start to really show in some of this data, but some of those same fearful thoughts were expecting higher inflation in September. So I think as you see housing continue, I mean, housing isn't directly correlated to PCE, it's more CPI, but as you continue to see housing get pulled out of inflation now because the 2-year lag is over, and Jerome Powell himself has even admitted that that's going to be the case. I do think the overall macro trend on inflation, while there'll be some monthly reporting volatility, is going to be on a slow downward trend. So, I don't think that from what we've seen the last 3 years, that inflation isn't going to continue to move slowly over time towards the 2%. Now, what's going to happen next week is the Fed will cut. The market's going to cling on to Jerome Powell's comments like they always do. And then how soon is the Trump administration going to appoint or name who the new Fed chairperson will be?
Mm-hmm.
The thoughts, and Scott Bessent, Secretary of Treasury, has said that person will be named likely by the end of the year or before Christmas. So I think that, President Trump is holding this in his back pocket, knowing that Powell is going to come out and pour cold water on a momentum from another rate cut, a third consecutive rate cut in his presser. He's going to pour cold water on it like he's done the last two. Trump's going to come out here before the end of the year, name who the next chairperson will be, and try to create momentum going in the other direction. That shadow Fed president that Logan Mohtashami over at Housing Wire has talked about, where now the markets are going to say, oh, this person is pro-cut. They're going to make a lot of cuts in 26, and see if that can kind of spur momentum in 2026. But you know what? Danielle Hale, who we're going to have on the pod here, coming up, just doesn't believe in that. And her team doesn't believe that that is going to be enough, that the administration in DC does not have enough levers to pull, that the Fed does not have enough levers to pull to have an impact on the 30-year fixed mortgage. I really am curious on how the team got there, because they're projecting an average of 6.3, which is exactly basically where we are today. And they're not only projecting an average of 6.3 on the 30-year fixed in 26, they're projecting that's where we're going to end the year.
That was
2026.
crazy.
Yeah.
So
she was right on. I mean, unless something insane happens, she nailed it.
Well,
we're talking about the future.
Now I'm talking about 26.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
She does not project high fives, which is what we've all been rooting for, and which is what the administration is desperately trying to achieve, because they have midterms, and the midterms for Republicans is looking very shaky unless the economy turns around. And the only way to get short-term bursts into the economy is lower rates. And they really want to drive rates down, but what Realtor.com, one projection, is saying is not going to happen. Rates are going to be where they are today.
What I meant was, we were all kind of shocked by her predictions last year when she came on the show this time of year. We were like, wow,
she nailed
I don't know.
it, basically.
And she nailed it, is what I'm saying. So I have a lot of confidence in her predictions based on past performance.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, no doubt confidence, but disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah. And even I think when she comes on, she'll be the first to say, she won't even be rooting to be right, is my take from the conversation we had with her in Park City. But she's also putting out a projection that she feels like has the best chance of being right. And that says that we're going to be looking at a 2026 that's very similar to the last 3 years. They're only talking about a 1.7% bump on transactions. That's a nothing, right? So we're talking about basically 4 million existing home sale transactions. What Realtor.com is saying is Fannie Mae is going to be completely wrong on a 10% bump on existing home sale transactions. There will not be, what they're saying, I'm not saying this, I'm saying what they're saying in their projections, there will not be a tailwind to your business in 2026. It will all come down to you and your efforts. And the economic data is still uncertain in the sense that, man, we didn't add jobs with ADP, but unemployment came out and wasn't that bad. So you continue to have contradicting data points. Inflation less than expected, but projected to be higher potentially in coming months as we catch up on data. The Fed expected to cut the rate, but the 10-year is telling us that don't expect the 30-year fix to drop. The projections are saying don't expect the 30-year. So that's where we're at right now, which seems like it's going to be what Lance Lambert's told us on this pod. You're going to have a year very similar to the year you just had, and most years are very similar without an economic blow-up scenario outside of something we can't see, nobody can see. It's going to just be similar, feeling similar. And so I think that's probably a good move into, what does Outbound need to look like in a very similar 2026 year, or a similar 26 being similar to 25. What does Outbound look like? Tom, you shared in our group chat that, our group chats is one of the best text chats in America.
We should charge a subscription fee for it, Byron. We can make a lot of money. Like, just get in the group chat.
It would have to be censored.
Yeah, it would have to be censored, and you can't respond. You can only read it. That would have to be like, we don't want to be talking to anybody. But
Tom shared a clip, a Gary Vee clip, and
I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like this just gets me so jacked up because I've been running my business like this for 25 years. And can we play the clip? I mean, I think we should play the clip.
He's not talking to a real estate agent.
Is that like some comic book trade show or something?
Maybe this guy's also a real estate agent.
I love this guy's shirt and like the hat.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
But the advice Gary Vee gives here, very relevant to what we're going to talk about on outbound activity for 26.
Out of your mind. 25.
How do I get some investors?
By email messaging them on LinkedIn.
They don't respond.
How many?
A lot.
How many people?
One after the other, one after
How many?
the other.
Give me a real fucking number.
Like 25.
Are you fucking out of your mind? 25. 100 a day. You want money. You're asking for money. You can't ask 25 people in your
But I can't ask anybody, just anybody.
Not true.
Well, you're going to say otherwise.
I'm going to say otherwise. Here's why. At night, from 8 o'clock to midnight, instead of whatever the you're doing, lay down, have the TV in the background, have a beverage of choice, and bang on LinkedIn. Hit up more people. Don't get in your own head. 25 people. You're going to get 1 out of every 500. 1 out of every 500 are going to answer you. But if you send 3,000, you have 6 meetings. And then if you go 1 for 6, you have your first real investor, and then your whole life changes.
So
this is my life. Like that is my life in real estate summed up. It's that it's so accurate what he's talking about because we've all heard this. The leads are bad. Oh, it's not great. How many calls you make? 7. Like, okay, you made 7. I did that on my way to work, and I mean it's a numbers game, and you've got to embrace volume with outbound activity. And this is not like circle prospecting and expireds and all that stuff. That's what people think of. These are the leads actually in your database because we know what the data looks like. There's that Harvard Business Review study that everyone looks at. 6+ attempts. Most reps and real estate agents quit at 2.7. That's the NAR statistic. So they're quitting before they get to that 90% response rate. And if you want to win this year, and to give you guys, we shared this in our group text, our market's up 1.2% in the Philadelphia metro area. Our volume for our team is up over 25%. That happens because of working and outbound activity and knowing the numbers. So you're not just, oh, I called 25 people, didn't work, I'm going to go do something else and post some dumb shit on Instagram and hope someone DMs me. It's the consistency of doing this every single day, which is exactly what Gary Vee is talking about there.
The advantage that everybody listening to the pod has right now over this particular person that Gary Vee is talking to is he doesn't have a database. So he's only relying on cold outbound, which I wouldn't ignore cold outbound. Like I wouldn't ignore the ability to take a prop stream or something and source, people who bought with, a 5% rate or whatever you want to do, however you want to source that information, or second homeowners or, whatever. I wouldn't ignore cold outbound resources, but everybody listening to the pod has a database. And are you talking to every customer in it? Are you using it every single day? That's a clear advantage over this individual who has nothing. He's like, I've got nothing. Now, the real wake-up call to every single agent. I mean, if you're helping an agent on your team, in your organization, in your office right now, the wake-up call of what Gary Vee did, the accountability that he provided to this person by saying, how many a day? He said it 3 times. He cornered him into a real answer. And this guy respects Gary Vee clearly. And so eventually he came to reality, was honest with himself, honest with Gary, and said, 25. 25 is how many I've reached out to. And the answer was 25, 100 a day. No, what you're doing isn't enough. No, what you're doing in your mind as hard work isn't even work. You haven't begun. You haven't started. You haven't scratched the surface. And agents get emotionally, they shut down sometimes, some agents, on this conversation when it's the accountability kicks in of you haven't even begun. You haven't started. You haven't sniffed what it's like to be an agent yet based on your numbers. When we open up FUB or we open up your CRM of choice, you haven't even gotten going. You didn't do anything. We have a requirement after onboard, a standard after onboarding, that is 100 calls before you can move into the opportunities of receiving our world-class training and receiving the opportunities of the lead flow that we provide. Okay. 100 calls. And we were having a conversation yesterday in our quarterly EOS meeting. And so somebody who handles some of the onboarding for us, she said, a lot of people though are saying that they don't have enough time to get that 100 calls and they want to get right into the training. They want to get into the whatever. And so our EOS implementer who was in the room, her daughter was in the room. Now our EOS implementer is somebody who has been very successful, exited out of a really significant size company and had an SDR, what we call ISA, a call center attached to the company. She had her daughter out of college who was in the room taking notes for us, work as as what we would consider an ISA, an inside sales agent, but an SDR in a call room for her company. And when we were having this conversation, like, hey, some agents don't have enough time. So how long are we going to give them to make the 100 calls? They say that, it would take them all day. I said to her, I said, Josie, how long would it take you to make 100 calls? And she said, she had an exact answer. She said 2.5 hours.
Boom. That is the right answer, by the way.
She said, we did this every day from a block of 9:30 to 11 or 9:30 to noon, where we would do 100 calls and then we'd have some, kind of cleanup of the CRM. And then again from 2:30 to 5. But she knew exactly how long it would take. 100 calls, 2.5 hours. You block everything out and you get it done. And this is the formula. This is the blueprint. 100 calls a day if you're trying to achieve next level. All the conversion, what does Sharon always say? All the conversion is in the conversation. How do you speed ramp conversations in 26? It's taking the 2.5 block and making the 100 every single day. Not sometimes, not once in a while, not doing 25 and giving yourself on a pat on the back. It's 100 a day.
I love it.
Lisa?
And I have nothing else to add because it is what it is. Literally nothing else to add.
So the guy had a.
I want to ask
Mutant
Lisa
Ninja
though.
Turtles. All right.
Yeah.
I have a question.
What we're gonna buy Tom? Somebody send Tom a Ninja Turtle T-shirt.
I want to know who the
wants one.
favorite turtle is for everybody. That's the
It's the red one, Tom. That's the only answer.
Raphael.
Yeah,
Raphael.
that's the only right answer.
Leonardo all day.
Well, Bobby was too young to know that the red one was Raphael. He was probably
The
younger.
red one. They're actually all green, and he has a red bandana.
I want to ask Lisa here before we wrap. Why do agents, given this conversation, I think a lot of the people listening to Knowledge Brokers Pod love this conversation. Let us know in the comments if you love it. But they may know an agent, be coaching an agent, be managing an agent that hates this conversation. And why do agents hate the idea of this being a necessity in business? They think of real estate as something else. And how can you get that agent into the realization of what Gary got this guy to realize, that no, this is the path to your success, no matter what you're doing. Even if you're going to be a hyper-local branding expert and generate a lot of leads, it still comes down to high levels of outbound asks to create conversations. Why do agents hate this idea? And then how do we get them to unlock?
I think, I don't think we can get them necessarily to unlock. Why do they hate it? Well, it's not comfortable. And I think HGTV has sold a dream of what real estate is. And I think, as I've said this before, like societally, we make it seem like everybody is a business owner and you get a real estate license and it's easy. There's a reason the failure rate is 87%. There's a reason that the average agent only sells 3 homes a year, right? And the ones that understand that it is sales, that it is a business, and that treat it like a sales business, they get it. But that number is so small. And one of the things we always talk about, I know I've said it to you too, and we've in our group text have said it, you can't want it for somebody more than they want it for themselves, right? Like they're just, we can all know somebody's got so much potential, but we can't want it for them more than they want it for themselves.
Well, and what you said there, that's internal and external accountability, right? Like at some point when you're getting started, you want it, but you need someone to help you do it. And I think that's
100%.
normal to go through. That's, I
Yep.
mean, I think we've probably all been through that at some point in our careers. And it's no different than going to the gym. Same thing.
Yep.
But, and what you have to kind of honor is for some people making like 150,000 is going to be great. And if they have to do a certain amount to get there, that's fine. I have no judgment there. The problem is what Gary's talking about. You know, he's right on. I think this guy, I would bet this guy is actually going to do it. I mean, he asked the question, he got serious. Like if I was going to, you know, that's a hard conversation to have with someone. The problem is in our industry, what we see a lot of people want is they want these laydowns. They want the lead that says, hey, I'm ready to buy this house and write an offer. And they think that their personality when they show up and that fact that people like them is what makes them a great real estate agent. That's a component of it. But likability, you know, there's a lot of people we know that don't like Byron in the comments that watch the show. I would fall in that same category.
I love you guys, though.
I love all the haters. I love everybody.
I live in that category. I got you.
But they think that it's all about likability. And I know how to negotiate the home inspection as best as anybody else. So and we all do that stuff. There's a difference between going out and when you market yourself as an individual or as a business. It's not someone else's job to know how good you are. It's your job to get the word out. And that's any company that's out there. And there's different ways to do it. Outbound activity is absolutely one of them, especially when you're in growth mode and you're trying to start up and ramp up and take market share. And they should make a show about that. But the problem is nobody would watch it. So that's why they have all this other crap on TV.
Tom, why do you think my team is 60 agents? I'm a 50-50 guy. 50% of people love me and 50% of people maybe not so much.
Byron, I have more haters in the world than you would even imagine. And then they all make up wild lies about us and they meet us and they're like, oh, you're actually like a pretty nice guy. So I know that's just, or woman in Lisa's case. So that's just how it is. But
everybody loves Lisa. No, they kiss her ass in the comments.
We know for a fact that is not true. And I'm not, so I mean, but the point is that people don't like this conversation because it's real. And I mean, you look at all the top producers throughout history, they just do the same shit. There's nothing new here that happens. There's new ways to, you know, market yourself and do that stuff to create more conversations, but you still got to talk to the people, even when you have the conversations.
You know what I want to add? I think one of the things that separates those that make it from those that don't is those that have a backup plan. They don't make it. If you've got a backup plan and there's always something that you can do if this doesn't work out, you don't make it. But when you've truly put it all on the line and it's make or break, I promise you make it. Right? And we see it with agents. Even with myself, right? And I'm sure you two would say the same thing.
You're right.
There's times when I know that if I don't do X, the outcome is going to be catastrophic. And you better believe I do whatever it is. But then there's other times where, yeah, it doesn't really matter. And maybe I'm not as accountable as I should be.
I had no backup plan. I walked away from, you know, my dad getting me into the nuclear power plant. I was the last person in on the pension after I had gone bankrupt. And, you know, that was supposed to be my recovery phase and give me some stability in my life. And I absolutely hated it. I think about Emily White here on the team, who was a tenured teacher. And she started it with us back 5-something years ago. And she, you know, took the summer basically to start and then didn't return in September. So you're talking about a 2-month runway of getting a feel. She burned the boats. Think about Alan. If you know Alan, the agent, Alan from the team who's been involved in some of the BAM stuff at times. He was working for the local water company, and it's supposed to be, you know, you work there till you retire type of deal. And I remember I was very honest with Alan. I said, you know, when he came on, I said, you quit that by 6 months or, you know, there's not really going to be a spot for you here. And he did it. And, both him and Emily are coming to Naples, Florida as part of our top producer thing. They're both well over 13 million this year, making tons of money and all of that. But they did what Lisa's talking about, which is I'm not going back.
Yep.
As soon as it gets hard, you go to the backup plan. That's human nature. And we see that a lot. Like I see people, I'm going to test this out. And I mean, you talk about all the leaders in our companies. I mean, I could go through a long list, Byron, just like you did. And when you have some blind faith and trust the process, good things happen. Problem is, real estate's full of people telling you how to not make your calls and sell houses. And then you look these people up and they're not doing shit either. So I love this. I love this clip from Gary Vee. It got me so pumped up.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks for sharing that. It was good. Everybody have a great weekend or week whenever you're catching up on the pod. Love for you to consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. So if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, love for a review there. But jump over to the YouTube channel at Knowledge Brokers Podcast on YouTube.
Oh,
and
there's more
subscribe.
people to put hate on you there. That would be
No, I want to even it out. It feels like it's been getting closer to 60.
The Friday night,
10,000 Knowledge Brokers subscribers / haters.
Yeah, share this. Share the pod with somebody, and if you're a lurker, throw us a subscription. We got some really cool stuff planned for 26. We've got our prediction show coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to recap this year's projections, and then we're going to recap or give our predictions for 26. It's always a fun show. That's coming up in 2 weeks. Make sure to subscribe to the notification bell. Appreciate all of you guys, even the haters. I love you guys. We'll see you next week. See you guys. You've got a CRM for leads. Great. Don't want that to go away. But what about your clients? Most agents drop the ball after the deal. That's why they're called past clients. There's real money is in the referrals, the repeat business, staying top of mind for a year, making past clients actual clients. If your follow-up is just random check-in or a happy home anniversary, you're invisible. That's why my team uses Mosaic, and that's why the Mosaic team just made it available to all BAMX members at no additional monthly cost. Mosaic is a high-touch client experience platform. It picks up where your CRM leaves off, personalized property search, offer comparisons, real-time transaction timelines, automated homeowner reminders, equity updates long after the closing. This means your clients feel supported with you without duct taping 5 different systems together. And here's what makes this deal insane. Mosaic is normally $150 to $250 a month, but BAMX members, you get full access included in your $97 a month membership. If you're doing the math, that's like us paying you $150 every month just to stay ahead of your clients, just to keep your clients. Spots are limited by market for Mosaic. Some are already full. So if you're in a competitive area, go claim your seat now. Go to school.com/BAMX or hit the link.